All right. Yes. Okay. Welcome back to Daily DeFi 100. Today is April 28th of 2021. This has been a long time coming. I remember I started this series when I was in prison in Kosovo, just because I was so interested in the decentralized finance market. So really, what we're going to do is basically start the episode off with the basic structure of Daily DeFi, just going through the main things we talk about. So DeFi Pulse. Let's see, juicy NFTs, a couple articles, and then some top DeFi altcoins. So that should be good. And then as people kind of roll in here, we will basically throughout the episode be taking questions, mainly addressing them at the very end of the episode. But overall, just excited to do this Daily DeFi 100. It's pretty awesome. Like I said, I remember when I first started Daily DeFi, I was in prison in Kosovo, and it was just because I was so focused on the decentralized finance market. And I'm like, man, there's no good daily series that really covers this. It's really all about having your finger on the pulse of an incredible industry like this that's replacing the centralized industry or CeFi. So let's kick things off with Daily DeFi 100. I still can't believe, 100 episodes of Daily DeFi, just crazy. I've enjoyed doing it. I'm pretty sure the only day I missed was when I was really, really doing quick travel around like more southern Turkey. And it's beautiful because I think today we're actually hitting all-time highs in the decentralized finance market. So the total value locked in decentralized finance is at $64.38 billion. The previous all-time high, let's see, the previous all-time high right over here was right around $59 billion. And again, what we're really going to do is just go over these kind of basic structures that we normally do in Daily DeFi, and then we'll move into kind of the special stuff to cover on the live stream. But I want to make sure we have kind of the structured out so when people rewatch this, they at least have the beginning part that's like all the other Daily DeFis, and then from there we can kind of build on to other topics. I put out a poll, and I'll be checking on the results on that, what you guys want to be covered, because this one will go fairly long. The only thing is, let's see, I'm hearing this back in Istanbul because I had some changes with travel plans. But basically, I have something that I have to get to at 9 o'clock, and it is currently 7:30. So we might go for around like an hour 30. Anyways, let's hop right in. So as I said, $64.38 billion, incredible to see new all-time highs. Everybody was panicking when this Bitcoin dump happened. Anytime there's a correction like this in any bull run, in any market, especially in the crypto market, people panic. And it's so interesting because it provides a very great opportunity for those who are able to really monetize these dips and these price drops that have them built in. I talk about kind of this trident approach. So with any asset class or any like individual investment inside an asset class, so like let's just take Cardano for example. When this Bitcoin drop happened, I was very well prepared, and I think a lot of other people that kind of followed the global investment framework video were as well. Because basically, again, how I kind of look at any individual investment is you want to have kind of a three-pronged approach. You want to have your core position if you believe in this project fundamentally. So I believe in Ethereum and Bitcoin in the crypto space the most fundamentally. Cardano is kind of like a third one, and Polkadot I would put in there. But let's say for Cardano, so I have my core position set up, and then I have a short-term position working on flipping. So that short-term position, maybe I can trade with this, maybe I can do leverage, but all those are kind of the main two. And then the third is stablecoins allocated for this specific asset. So let's say for example, you are interested in getting into DeFi Pulse Index. Well, with this, you have to understand this is an actual token. So DPI, the DeFi Pulse Index token, you can have the same three-pronged approach. You could have the core position if you believe in it fundamentally. You can have the kind of secondary position, which is for short-term flips. And then essentially the short-term flips are the main goal, beginning with the end in mind, is to increase your core position. And then after that, you have your kind of stablecoin position to average into dips. So it's beautiful because for all of these coins, I had a stablecoin position allocated for that coin individually. And with this, I was able to buy a part of the dip. Now, I didn't even use all the stable coins I had allocated for each of these individual investments, but you have to expect these dips to come in the bull run. This is literally part of a healthy bull run. I've talked about that so many times. But anyways, back to normal here. So maker dominance is at 15.91%. That's falling a little bit. Good to see. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been covering how pretty much everything has been moving in the DeFi space with Compound and Maker kind of going back and forth and battling on who's going to be really the top dog there. And then you have DeFi Pulse Index at 531.45. That's always good to see. Again, DeFi Pulse Index, and the whole reason I cover DeFi Pulse every day on Daily DeFi is because you keep your fingers on the pulse of the finance market, of this decentralized finance market that's really innovating. You have to look at, okay, centralized finance, this is insanely, this is like pennies on the dollar to what centralized finance is worth if you're just looking at total value locked in centralized finance. Think about the total value in all bank accounts. Just in the United States, it's insane. But then you look at the global economy. DeFi, really, the decentralized finance industry is not just going after the United States economy or the Australian economy or the United Kingdom economy or the Chinese economy. No, it's the global economy. And that's why this channel is called Invest Global, because I'm very interested in all different, basically, projects that are really fighting for being the best in the global economy as far as replacing centralized finance as we know it and moving more towards open, free economy that everyone can choose what they will do in it. Everyone will choose what they will. So let's see, DeFi Pulse Index, like I said, 531. So we're going to run through these, and then we will get to the basically the main topics of today, which are kind of the special things for daily DeFi number 100. So you see Maker is down here at 5.76%. And Aave's up a little bit, but Compound's down. Good to see. Uniswap has been on a tear, by the way. Uniswap has been absolutely killing it. As far as juicy NFTs, the reason we talk about this every day on Daily DeFi is because it's tracking this other part of the decentralized finance market, which is non-fungible tokens. And if you don't understand non-fungible tokens, essentially you have to understand what is fungibility. What does it mean if something is fungible, right? So think about every single person on Earth. All of these people on Earth are non-fungible. If there are clones, they would be fungible. So, for example, a Bitcoin is fungible because relatively fungible because one Bitcoin is the same as another Bitcoin. So if you went on an exchange and you purchased one Bitcoin, would you be like, hey, I want a different Bitcoin? No, it's the same with like gasoline, for example. Gasoline is fungible. You go into a gas station, do you care which gas pump you go on? In the individual gas station, you could say water is fungible. All these different things are fungible. Non-fungible tokens essentially is meaning scarcity. So if something is non-fungible, like a birth certificate or a deed to real estate, these things are scarce. They're not in mass supply. You can't just go to a store and buy as many as you want, like toilet paper, fungible. Although people were panicking about toilet paper at the beginning of coronavirus, so maybe they thought it was non-fungible. Who knows? Anyways, so with NFTs, again, the reason we cover this every day is because when I first started looking at juicy NFTs, the volume was like under $20,000 a day. And now we're at literally $1.4 million. So it'd be very interesting if there was kind of an index. B20 is kind of my play as far as that goes for indexing the NFT market, similar to how DeFi Pulse, it has the DeFi Pulse index as kind of an ETF almost of the whole decentralized finance market. But with NFTs, there isn't really something that's doing this with all the NFTs. For example, like maybe in like an ETF or an index of something like CryptoPunks, because CryptoPunks has the majority of the dominance in the NFT marketplace. Again, I've done a video on the history of CryptoPunks. Go check that out. But CryptoPunks is seeing like multi-million dollars typically in a day. Today we're just seeing $1 million, and then typically after that it's like Axie, Sandbox Land, Known Origin, these different ones. But that's pretty much all for the normal things we talk about. Now we'll kind of be moving into the articles and then the kind of special topics for today's live stream. Again, I will have to hop off at around 9 o'clock Turkey time, so that's about an hour from now. So open to questions throughout this live stream, but as people start rolling in, we'll start taking some questions, but mostly they'll be addressed at the end of the video. One thing I want to mention before we go into the articles, one thing is very, very important to know, is that it's around 5 p.m., I think Eastern Standard Time, if I'm correct, Facebook releases their earnings report. So if you don't understand this in the centralized market, right, this is talking about daily DeFi, but in the centralized markets, companies, if they're publicly traded, have to report their earnings, right? So if it understands this, it probably seems obvious. But what's very interesting with this round is a lot of people think that potentially Facebook, and I think this is true, and a lot of these kind of behemoth companies like, I would say Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and Walmart are the ones that I'm really eyeing. If they release their earnings report, whenever company does this, they have to release their balance sheet, essentially, just like the Federal Reserve has to release their balance sheet. If Facebook bought Bitcoin, this could be the next rise. I mean, and when this happens, you have to understand this causes a cascading effect. I really think it's like the domino effect. Tesla is really the one that started this, in my opinion. They kind of started this cascading effect. And moving on from there, it's going to cause all these other companies to go in. And really, I think the impetus for all of this was MicroStrategy. So when Michael Saylor bought Bitcoin, he's bought over $2 billion in Bitcoin now. There's like a statistic that it's like every minute Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy buys, it's like $2,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's literally an unfathomable number. Like it's crazy. So you see all these companies doing this, and MicroStrategy, if you don't understand what this company does, essentially it's a consulting company. So they're essentially consulting other tech companies what to do with their assets and what to do as far as strategy. So that's why it's called MicroStrategy. And with this, again, you see all these other companies. You know, they're maybe not tech companies. Like maybe you wouldn't consider Walmart a tech company, but look at Toys R Us. If a company doesn't innovate on these new waves, like if they didn't get on in the .com wave, Toys R Us had a horrible e-commerce. Now Walmart is actually having very good e-commerce, and especially something like Amazon, especially Facebook, obviously tech companies, and let's say like Uber does this or Airbnb does this, it'll really cause this like domino effect. Truly, I mean, it's going to be insane if Facebook releases this after. I mean, it'll probably be after this live stream, but it'll be literally a cascading effect. I mean, think about when Elon Musk put this on. People will go, okay. I mean, he smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's done kind of these crazy things throughout his career, but a company like Facebook or a company like Walmart putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet could be insane because you see these centralized companies doing this. They're like, okay, why do we have this melting ice cube of capital? That's what Michael Saylor essentially describes it as, and it's similar with what Tesla does. It's like, okay, why does Tesla accept crypto for their cars? Well, you have to understand they're getting an arbitrage play. They're going to hold this long term. You're paying in something that is going up in value over time. They're, instead of accepting something that is being devalued or inflated away, US dollars, whatever other currency they're selling their vehicles in, no, they're saying we're going to accept Bitcoin. We're going to accept a currency that over time, since it has a limited supply, a fixed cap of 21 million Bitcoin, and there's a lot less because, Satoshi has 1 million, then there's all the people that have lost their Bitcoin, and then there's the Bitcoins that are left to be mined. So you have this kind of supply shortage. And when you start accepting people to pay for your vehicles in something that has a fixed supply, your balance sheet starts increasing like crazy. So again, when you see the wealthiest man in the world doing this, it kind of is cause for concern in my opinion, because it really shows that so many people are interested in doing this. So many companies see the value in this. And the point I want to make is if Facebook does this, it could be killer. It could be absolutely incredible. Basically, I think if Facebook does this, again, it could cause this cascading effect. Companies like Netflix could do this. Companies like Airbnb could do this. But really, it'll start with these top dogs. So Walmart, if I remember correctly, it's like, oh yeah, May 18th, Walmart has their earnings report. So again, with these earnings report, it's very important to watch these. I probably will not be awake for this Facebook one, but if you're able to watch the earnings report as it comes out live for Facebook, there is a chance. There's a non-zero chance. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to happen, but there's a non-zero chance that Facebook has put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And if this happens, it could not only send a crazy rise in something like Bitcoin, but all the altcoins will have this dragging effect. So how I see this when I identify a narrative like this is I go, okay, if Facebook puts this on their balance sheet and this gets released in their earnings report, I want to be watching this. I want to be making sure that I am on the ball, because this is a potential to trade something like this. And especially a potential to start gaining a core position into some of these altcoins that more tech companies could be using. So you see different altcoins, it's absolutely incredible, that are actually being used in now the vaccine passports. And I'm not going to make a political statement on vaccine passports. I don't personally agree with them. But you see these projects getting actual real world use cases, which is pretty incredible, using blockchain technology. Yes. So let's go on. Okay, but the main thing you have to understand is that if these companies put it on the balance sheet, it is going to cause a parabolic rise for Bitcoin and Ethereum, because after this dip, Elon Musk and Tesla basically talked about selling a tiny bit of it, but Elon didn't actually sell his personal amounts. It was just Tesla selling a little bit of Bitcoin, and essentially they're realizing some profits, which is good to see. And they're basically showing the liquidity of this asset, whereas a lot of other asset classes, you're not able to do this if it's on your balance sheet. So again, watch that earnings report. Watch Facebook's earnings report. It would be even better. This would be really crazy if they purchased some Ethereum, because they've kind of backed off on this Libra cryptocurrency. They were trying to do this whole Libra currency, and it was honestly not going to be very good. But if they purchase Ethereum, I mean, this is going to be literally blow up the market overall. It's going to be absolutely insane. Overall, again, Facebook potentially doing this today, and then you have on May 18th. You have, let's see, Walmart. So if Walmart does this again, I highly recommend reading Sam Walton's book, Made in America. It really shows the kind of his ideas and his kind of innovations, and I think a company like this could potentially do it. So besides that, another interesting article is damn huge. So Germany is opening institutional crypto funds. So as more countries start to do this, you see the move away from the countries that are banning these things and the move towards countries that are innovating. You have to understand that countries are no longer just these kind of like sacred cows. They're businesses at the end of the day, and people are starting to see this as the world opens up. as basically the borders disappear in the global economy, as people can move wherever they want. I talk about gaining multiple passports, gaining multiple residencies. So if your country goes, hey, we're going to lock you down, you go, wait, I got a second passport, I can shoot out. And even if you set up a residency, like let's say a Panama residency is very, very easy to set up. You set up a Panama residency, it doesn't matter what your country does. And I think the important thing to ask is, okay, not just necessarily this current environment with the cerveza sickness, but more importantly, what are these things going to happen in the future? What if something worse happens? How really archaic and how bureaucratic will these lockdowns be moving forward? And that's why, again, it's very, very important that you should definitely try at least to get a second residency. They're very, very easy to set up. Again, I'll probably make a video on like the easiest second residencies, but also second citizenship is very, very vital. So again, this damn huge with Germany is really, really good to see. Again, institutional crypto funds. And then, okay, the one other thing before we kind of go into the special topics, this last article I do want to talk about is these new NFTs. So there's like been all these celebrities trying to release their own NFTs. As you know, like anyone can go on Rarible or OpenSea and sell their own NFT. You can go do it. You can go sell your own NFT. And the only problem is these really transaction fees, which pushes people away from Uniswap and kind of the Ethereum network. Hopefully Ethereum V2 reduces this problem, but with this, someone like Ellen or like these other celebrities tried to make their own non-fungible token, and essentially it was kind of a flop. A lot of them flopped when they're doing this. But what's interesting is, I don't know, this is kind of like a nostalgia thing. I like growing up, Sonic the Hedgehog and like Mario. So like Sonic, the creator of this on Sega Genesis, he's creating their own NFTs. So again, this is where I see like this nostalgia factor actually playing an interesting part in non-fungible tokens. Now, I personally don't have any idea why someone would purchase an Ellen NFT. Like, there's a certain amount of these where it's just like, what are we doing here? Like what's actually going on? Whereas something like this, I mean, it has nostalgic value. People collect these like old video games, or people collect these like trading cards. People don't collect celebrities. This is like something that's so strange to me. I'm not really sure why people would really focus on getting an Ellen NFT or anything like this. So, okay, now we're going to talk about the top DeFi tokens, and then we'll talk about Reef, we'll talk about KAVA, basically pretty much all the altcoins that were in the thumbnail. Kind of like, basically the way I picked those out for this episode is a big bag of Reefs and wood trade. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's good to hear, GNR. So the way I basically picked these tokens out is I just looked at past episodes of Daily DeFi. I looked at which projects most people liked, the episodes that got the most engagement, essentially, the most views. And pretty much every episode, which was like a multiple of them, that got over 1,000 views with individual altcoins, I kind of identified as, okay, people probably like this altcoin, so I'm going to focus on that. That's why we picked out Reef. That's why we picked out KAVA, Labs token, a Pirate Chain R is incredible, by the way. I mean, at the beginning, I was a little bit skeptical of Pirate Chain, ticker symbol ARRR, just because of the marketing behind it, some of the things. But they literally took, after doing more digging, this is an incredible, incredible project. I mean, out of the privacy tokens, R, or Pirate Chain, is, in my opinion, the best right now. And it has already seen a parabolic rise since we covered it on the video. I'm trying to remember. I think it's done like over a 10x Pirate Chain has since we covered it. And it only has more room to grow. I'm actually curious. Let me look up the market cap really quick of R. And also in the live chat, just let me know if you have anything. After we go through these altcoins that I was going to focus on, we talk about some passive income with crypto. I will start looking at some questions or anything like that in the live chat. But let me see, Pirate Chain. It was, I think, around like under a $50 million market cap when I covered it. And essentially what they're doing is using ZK snarks and all these other incredible privacy things we've talked to. I've done a video kind of explaining ZK snarks. I've talked about ZK rollups. I've talked about zero knowledge proofs, all these different things that things like Tornado Cash uses zero knowledge proof. You have Monero. You have a lot of these other tokens that are privacy focused. I think Pirate Chain is the best by far. I mean, this is crazy. It's at $8.38. The market cap is over $1.5 billion. That is crazy. Wow. That is insane. When I first recorded that video on Pirate Chain, it was like, I think the market cap was like $50 million. So it's done, that's a ridiculous amount of gains. But again, this is why I talk about that three-pronged approach, the kind of trident approach. When you identify a position you want to enter in, you should not just go, okay, let me be binary with this. You shouldn't even just go, let me be like like even if you put like 50% in and then another 50% in, rather you should go, okay, let me build my core position, let me average into a token that I believe in long term, then let me have my short-term trading portfolio with beginning with the end in mind to ideally add to your long-term holdings. And besides that, have some basically stable coins on the side. So I personally prefer USDC. Some people use USDT. You can use both, but also there's like BUSD if you're using on Binance. But anyways, Pirate Chain is just absolutely incredible. Yes, so let's actually look at some of these top DeFi tokens. I know that Uniswap has been on a tear, and in Chainlink, I made a video, one of the past daily DeFis. It was like 2 days ago, going deep dive into Chainlink 2.0, basically how they're more focused on having off-chain transactions being available in the Oracle space. Basically, the way I see this kind of DeFi market is you have individual sectors and you have kind of these top dogs that have the most dominance in the individual sector. So, for example, Chainlink is the top dog in the Oracle space, or Uniswap is the top dog in the decentralized exchange space. But we've talked a lot about something like Injective Protocol or PancakeSwap, and it was very, very, very low cap. Now it's done like a 30x or something ridiculous like that. PancakeSwap has been on an absolute tear. But Reef is also incredible. Obviously, I mean, we've made multiple videos on Reef. I'm considering doing a deep dive video on Sift Chain. So any project that we talk about in a video where I cover multiple tokens, I'm always open to doing a deep dive into one individual aspect or kind of an overview of that project. Typically, I do an overview to start it out, like we did with Pirate Chain or like we did with Reef, and then we did an individual deep dive on like a tutorial on Reef. But again, with any of these, absolutely incredible. If you're looking to get into these altcoins, go watch the video I recently made on top 3 ways to reduce fees with Uniswap or really Uniswap alternatives. So some people are turned away from entering into altcoins or gaining kind of core positions because of these crazy high fees on Uniswap. But basically, to break it down, there's really, I would say 5, but there's 3 that I mentioned. Yes, I do apologize for that. All right. So as I was saying, VeChain. And now that we're back up, yeah, I'm sorry about that. That's part of the process, I guess. Being in another country, I could just stay in one country and have the best Wi-Fi, but I enjoy traveling. I enjoy looking at different investment opportunities, and that's really all what a daily DeFi is about: is different investment opportunities. But someone actually was just talking about VeChain. So VeChain is partnered up with, I can't remember the exact country, but for this vaccine path, VeChain like this that's actually innovating, doing good things in the crypto market, and really making moves in the economy. That's one reason that obviously Bitcoin Cash is pretty centralized, but it's partnered up with different countries, and this is where I find it so interesting. Different cryptos partnering up with countries being used. For example, Miami, you can pay in tax with Bitcoin, and obviously not an altcoin, but VeChain doing this with a country on blockchain passports, or vaccine passports rather, is really, really. So overall, like we were saying, in the top DeFi coin market, basically, Reef is killing it. Reef is absolutely on a tear. Ethereum again could be pushed up massively if we see on these earning report, which we were talking about earlier. If we see some of these companies putting these different assets on their balance sheets, essentially with these earnings report, you have to disclose this to the public, and this could be absolutely huge news. So again, if you're in the United States, or if you're in a correct time zone, or even if you just want to stay up late. Personally, I like my sleep schedule. I'm not gonna just like sacrifice sleep schedule for like short-term gains. But if you're looking for short-term gains, I mean, if one of these companies puts it on their balance sheet and it's released in the earnings report, there's no doubt in my mind we're gonna see a massive rally, especially after this minor correction. Again, you see people panicking after like a 20% dip. We need to see at least 5. I've talked about this, at least 30 to 40% dips in Bitcoin in the dominance in this bull run, because Bitcoin is the most dominant cryptocurrency, obviously. And for this to happen, we will need to see a lot of other things go on. And for the longevity of it, I'm looking at least this whole year. We will see a lot of pullbacks. It will be very confusing along the way. A lot of people will say it's the top. A lot of people will say we're going to keep going. But the main thing is to average in and average out. That is how I'm playing this. I'm not doing a binary way of thinking. I try to remove binary thinking in general. But yes. Okay, so Reef has partnerships with Steem, and they said in the live AMA that they will be CSGO, Smoothie Finance, Zero Slip. Okay, let me see. And such as NFTs, that partnership that gives them license to. Okay, that is awesome. So Smoothie Finance. Okay, I will have to look into that. I have actually not heard of Smoothie Finance, but I think these food altcoins are hilarious because something like PancakeSwap, I honestly didn't know if this thing would pump. Like again, when I first saw it, it was like it was under a dollar, but now it's over $30. I think currently it might be around like $28. Let me see. No, it's at 35. What? PancakeSwap is ridiculous. This is just insane. So again, yeah, absolutely insane. PancakeSwap is so that's a 35x. Wow. But with something like Smoothie Finance, I mean, I would have to look into it. Maybe I can pull that up. But addressing that Reef thing, so more of these partnerships, the better with different video game companies. I think NFT gaming is going to be huge. I personally am not a gamer. I just don't really have the time. I know there is incredible use cases. I think when I am in hopefully I'm never in a nursing home, but when I'm like 80 or 90 years old, I'm gonna play all these incredible video games that I'm not playing now because we'll have the best technology then. Why are you wasting these years of your life playing these things? And you could say, oh, it's like you do it in your free time, but in my opinion, and not bashing people that play video games, but it's like you have these certain amount of years when you're, let's just say, under 40, and then over 40, obviously you can still do more things, but you can kind of relax a little bit more because these are the years that you should be grinding. And I personally, with my free time, I either read or I work out. Like that's pretty much I like work, I travel, I read, I work out, and I hang out with friends. That's pretty much it. Like I really do not have any time built in for video games, but the market for video games is incredible. Essentially, being able to use. I remember one of the video games I played when I was a lot younger is Cake is going to 770 to $100. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully. I mean, anyone can just throw out numbers. I'd like to see where you got that number from. If you use Fibonacci extensions, we talk about these different indicators in the global TA course. But as I was saying, in these games like Skyrim, for example, that was a video game that I loved growing up. Oh my god! So that's the type of thing that I love. Again, I haven't played it in a very long time. I haven't even been back in the United States in a long time to be able basically like with this having a weapon or something like this in a video game. I'm not games and NFT where if you get this, you can actually sell it on the market. These things are absolutely incredible. One other altcoin I do want to mention before kind of moving back in here to some of these other ones is Thorchain Rune. Man, we've talked about this a ton on Daily DeFi. It's probably the number one coin that I've talked about on Daily DeFi. Probably I would say Avalanche, Thorchain Rune, maybe PancakeSwap, and probably Chainlink, maybe those. But Thorchain is ridiculous. You guys have to understand that with these decentralized exchanges, essentially right now, for example, if you want to get into Bitcoin, you with Uniswap, you have to get into wrapped Bitcoin, so WBTC. And to transfer in between these things, you have all these fees. But with Thorchain Rune, you can transfer between Ethereum, between Bitcoin. It's purely cross-chain. And the Thorchain Rune token, I would say really anything, if the market cap's under around $3 billion is what I've been targeting. I'm purchasing the dip. I'm buying the dip, anything under $3 billion. When it's kind of exceeding that $4 billion level, like 3 to 4 billion, I'm like, maybe. But anything over 4 billion, I'm not too bullish on. But this is essential infrastructure for the future of the decentralized finance market. That's why we cover Thorchain. That's why I talk about Chainlink. That's why I talk about Uniswap. That's why I talk about Aave, Maker, Compound. These are essential infrastructure for the future of decentralized finance. So these ones, would you rather invest in something like Facebook or an application that's built on top of Facebook? so these different applications, for example, ones that are built on Ethereum, that's why I do like Ethereum fundamentally. I've made a video on is it too late to buy Ethereum, and I explain this. In Metcalfe's Law, you look at network effects. Ethereum is incredible, but it has a lot of pullbacks, and that's why you always have to look to the yin to something's yang. And Ethereum is kind of like the yang of the market. You can also look at this as Compound, or let's say Chainlink. What is the yin to Chainlink's yang? Well, API 3, you have Umbrella Protocol, you have many other oracles out there that are doing incredible things, and a lot of them don't have this opportunity because they're not as high market cap as some of the other ones. So when you look at something like Reef integrating with different projects like this, like CSGO, I think that's, again, I apologize for my lack of video game knowledge, but I think CSGO is similar to Fortnite, right? Let me know if that's correct. But something like that is incredible because I know people pay a ridiculous amount in skins for these games, like an insane amount for skins on these video games, especially Fortnite, because there's kids that are like using their parents' credit cards on their like Christmas or on their birthdays. Now it's people wanting to get into these video games, and I guess with a project like Reef that has great fundamentals, the more bullish news the Reef or one of these smaller cap altcoins gets put on a popular company's balance sheet, it would be mind blowing. Like you could see this happening. What the fuck is going on with that? Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, got this properly. So with Reef or one of these lower cap altcoins, if you could get this on a company's balance sheet when they have their earnings report, this would be absolutely incredible. It'd be very, very bullish. But Bitcoin is the main one that most companies will get into because it's relatively lower risk compared to other altcoins. But again, when you look at it, I would say R is these are kind of the main ones that I have been looking at recently. R, ticker symbol ARRR, Pirate Chain, which is a privacy coin. It's basically taking all the best. Okay, 1 second. The prayer is about to start here in Turkey. Let me close this. Okay, sorry. There's like the daily prayer, and I knew it was gonna be loud. But yeah. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, with Pirate Chain, there's a lot of great things. With R, there's a lot of great things as far as yield farming. So on the let me actually check that on the uh, what was it called? On the poll, I basically gave multiple options. I will be doing the questions kind of closer to the end of the episode, so leave your questions if you have any in the live chat. But really looking at yield farming, earning passive income in crypto, you have staking. So the difference between staking and yield farming is actually quite different. And maybe we'll make a dedicated video on this, staking versus yield farming. I've made a lot of videos on how to make passive income with crypto, but because there's a lot of incredible opportunities. You know, when you look at something like a traditional bank account, look at any country. I mean, in somewhere like Armenia or Ukraine, you have better yield on your bank account, so you have better annual percentage rate essentially. But in the United States, I mean, let's say you put $100,000 in the bank in the United States, this melting ice cube is being inflated away. Not only that, but you're not even earning enough in interest in these bank accounts to match inflation. So the average inflation that they say, this is the amount they state, but again, you have to understand that inflation affects everyone differently. If you're holding more assets, it affects you less. If you're paycheck to paycheck, someone who's only using cash that does not have investable assets, inflation is going to affect you much more because you're not in something that's essentially inflation hedged. So cryptocurrency or commodities or bonds or stocks or real estate or emerging market investments are all, in my opinion, basically inflation hedge assets, especially cryptocurrency in this bull. But it's very, very important to understand that if you're living paycheck to paycheck, try to save some of it or try to earn more income, ideally something online like we talk about on this channel, to build more income so you can get into inflation hedge assets, because every country, the inflation is going to kill it. It's really sad to see. You see this in places like Turkey starting to happening with the lira. I was actually talking to someone in this hotel. Like maybe he's watching this. I told him about the channel, but I ordered room service last night when I got to this hotel, and he was talking to me about the Turkish lira. He would just ask me like what I was in Turkey for. I've been here for about 3 months, and he was talking about like, man, like when he went to like Maine in the United States. When he was there, his Turkish lira were actually worth something. If he goes there today, it's worth probably 1/10 of when he went just a little bit ago. And you have to understand, when the Turkish lira was originally created, it was supposed to be 1-to-1 to a US dollar. And just for a little bit of context, around 100 lira is around 15 US dollars now. So really, really sad to see. And that's a generalization. I think it'll be further pushed down, especially with the Brazilian real. We see this. Venezuela, Argentina, a lot of these African countries, it's the same story. But anyways, moving on. As I was saying, with passive income in crypto, you want to be able to access these things in the decentralized finance market. The beauty is, since you're here early, if you're watching this video, if you even know about any project in the decentralized finance market, where most people just know about maybe Ethereum and maybe Doge, well, most people know about Dogecoin, but if they know this, they're distracted, right? The people that watch this channel, the people that are actually interested in daily DeFi, in these different investment things that I talk about, you are so ahead of the curve. Let me tell you, because so many people will not realize these things till the next bull run. In the next bull run, I mean, it'll be absolutely insane, first of all, on this bull run, but in the next bull run, it'll be ridiculous. If you have core position in some of these projects, or even if you have something like Coinbase, like the coin stock, and you've averaged into it, especially over the next couple of years, in my personal opinion, in the next bull run, it will be ridiculously more. I mean, I don't know. My price prediction for the next bull run for Coinbase stock is probably around like, I would say it could do like a 3x to a 4x from here. So it could be around $1,000. But again, the main focus here is crypto and earning passive income. So with staking and yield farming, staking basically a coin is basically when you have proof of work versus proof of stake. Staking essentially helps validate the network. So what you're essentially increasing decentralization in the overall network. So when you're staking a coin, you're essentially giving it to a validator, like Rocket Pool or Anchor, ones I've talked about in the past. have performed absolutely incredible. Yes, ARK is buying. Yeah, ARK Investments is very happening early, which in my opinion would be classified under sentimental analysis. Just like if Facebook puts Bitcoin on the balance sheet, or if Walmart does this at this earnings report, again, Facebook's earnings report is today. If they put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, it could be absolutely explosive. That's sentimental analysis. It's the same with ARK buying, or just talking about getting into Bitcoin or getting into Coinbase stock, because again, Coinbase has Coinbase Ventures and they're backing a lot of these currencies. Again, I think the most undervalued thing I can possibly say is UDT. Unlocked Protocol is it's being used by Forbes and nobody knows about it. It's being used by all these people, and anyone who's using a monthly service, any like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon does this. Any of these monthly services, they're all paying a fee to a payment provider. But UDT completely decentralizes this. So think about Patreon. Anyone using Patreon, or even something like Airbnb, you have these middlemen. So yes, there's a platform, but each of these platforms are integrated with a payment provider. So whether it's Stripe, whether it's PayPal, any of these kind of middlemen that are essentially they're processing these transactions, UDT opens up the playing field, so there's zero fees. So anyone can charge anything monthly. It's absolutely insane. So UDT is backed by Coinbase Ventures. It's backed by Mark Cuban, a lot of these other great investors. Yeah, so undervalued. So anyways, with making passive income, yield farming, and staking, again, remember with staking, it is essentially you're helping validate the network. So I've made a video on how to stake Polkadot, for example, with the Ledger hardware wallets. With this, you're basically giving up your Polkadot. There's a lockup period for passive income. So with something like Exodus, a mobile wallet, it's very, very easy to do this with something like Cardano, with something like a Atom, so Cosmos. You can do this with Algorand. And essentially just automatically do this. It's very, very simple. The user interface for something like Exodus is very, very nice. I think what they're doing over there is absolutely incredible. They had the Exodus like a stock listing. They did it in a bit of a different form, but you could get into that. It kind of went under the radar. I think I'm personally much more bullish on Exodus than I am Coinbase. I think Coinbase is great for people that are trying to get in, but I am like when I very first got into crypto, I used Coinbase a little bit, but then I realized, okay, and this was a long time ago. It was when Coinbase was very, very early. But if you're holding anything on an exchange, that is susceptible for an attack. So get your crypto off Coinbase if you can, especially if you're using Coinbase now. I would recommend moving towards a decentralized exchange, especially if you're worried about taxes and other just kind of regulatory things going on, exchanges being hacked. That's kind of the point of the space, is using these decentralized exchanges, because not only are you learning about these things again very, very early, most people have no idea how to use something like PancakeSwap or how to stake or how to yield farm. And again, yield farming is much, much more riskier. So essentially, when you're looking at annual percentage rates, really anything over 15% is going to be risky. So for example, I've been staking PancakeSwap on the or Cake token on PancakeSwap, and it's around 115% APY. Now, that's insanely risky, but the only reason I do this is because I've pulled out my initial investment into PancakeSwap. It's done literally a 35x. So if you put $100 in it, you would have $3,500. If you put a $10,000 into PancakeSwap when we first talked about it, you would have what? $350,000. So when you identify a narrative like this, like the reason that I picked up PancakeSwap was not because anyone else was talking about it. It was pure turn things with a yield farming, but just for that basic framework of understanding yield farming versus staking is very, very important, because with staking, you're really having, at least with projects like Cardano or something like Algorand, it's a little bit better, just because you do have the ability to 1 second, let me make sure this is all good. Okay, so you do have the ability to basically be in a less risky position, because you're helping validate the network. So not only are you earning passive income, but you're actually basically taking a part in what's creating this passive income by staking. So you're kind of like a bee in the beehive, if you will. But with yield farming, essentially what you're doing is getting into these incredible gains. So all these projects have incredible gains. Yield farming essentially lets you to tap into these. I actually made a video looking at yield curve control is actually very important in the macroeconomic situation, but with cryptocurrencies, the yields are insane. But with something like bonds, the yields are insanely low, right? So obviously in the short term, cryptocurrency is the best. In the long term, some people who have been trading bonds have had an incredible investment career. But overall, I would say cryptocurrencies, you pretty much have the best yield out of any investment sector, essentially. I'm not someone who's looking at Dogecoin, but I will tell you this. So for yield farming, it is, like I said, very, very risky. I would look at Badger DAO. I would look at PancakeSwap, like we talked about. Pancake staking, and they have okay, I'll get to the questions later. Sorry. So PancakeSwap has staking and they have yield farming. So with PancakeSwap yield farming, I mean it's ridiculous. They're I'll actually pull it up here, and then I'll kind of share with you some of these riskier ones. But I mean, some of these riskier ones could be the next PancakeSwap in my opinion. Dim Sum is one that I will mention. I'm not a fan of Hex. Richard Hart. Let me know in the live chat if you know what I'm talking about with Richard Hart and Hex. They're basically like this. It's essentially this token with a ridiculously large supply. There's a lot of kind of controversy around Richard Hart and Hex. Not a fan. Even if it's something that goes up like ridiculously, I just don't believe in it long term. I look at, again, I break up my portfolio into long term holds, core positions that are key infrastructure for the cryptocurrency space. Then you have kind of short term plays. And even in my short term plays, if I don't believe in it kind of long term, I really don't invest in it. For example, I can trade something like Hex or trade something like Dogecoin that I don't believe in long term. Now, maybe Hex will do incredible. Maybe Doge will become the currency of Mars. These are all things where it's like opportunity cost, okay? Just like, you could play the lottery every day and go, hey, this other person won, just like these things where it's like, man, opportunity cost. Why not invest in something that's actually innovating on the future of finance, like a lot of these DeFi projects are? So with I'm just gonna check this here. So with the farms on PancakeSwap, it's just pretty insane. Like I said, when you see something with 400% APY, so you're literally doing a 4x guaranteed. Yeah. So for example, LMT BNB 674%. Just go on PancakeSwap and look at farms. So pancakeswap.finance/farms, and you'll see these insane gains. And the reason you're able to do this is because if something has very low liquidity in a farm, you can essentially have these insane gains. When something has a lot more liquidity, for example, staking, when you have more liquidity, the more decentralized it is. So essentially the stronger the network is, right? So the liquidity of Bitcoin is the highest in all cryptocurrencies. Then you have Ethereum. Then you have these different currencies. I would say USDT is not even one of these that we're going to talk about because it's just a stable coin. But when you have a farm with very, very low liquidity, you have incredible gains. But again, it's high risk, high reward, literally with farms. So be very, very careful. You can check out PandaDAO. You can check out Dim Sum. Those are two that I would kind of mention that I have been researching. There's some really, really low cap projects that I've been researching currently, but I almost don't even want to talk about those because the price is so volatile. It's just insane. Some of these, again, great long term projects, but I would say anything below $50 million, again, is insanely high risk, high reward. Anything under that, if I don't really believe in it long term, I only put in profits from other trades or other investments that I've made where it's just, it's basically just kind of taking the cream off the top of other investments. Or like, you're pouring a beer and it's floating up, you push the foam off, right? So that it's kind of like putting that into other investments and basically creating for a situation where you're into another project with no risk on your own part. So it's only profits from other projects. Again, we talked about this in many other videos. I talked about that. It's kind of like a version of the little old lady strategy that DaVinci 15 talks about with basically when you invest in a low cap coin, what you can do, a very basic framework, is when it doubles, just pull out half. So that would be pulling out your initial investment. Then the rest of it is all just riding towards the upside. So for example, in PancakeSwap, if you did it when we were originally talking about it at $1 and you just when it went to $2, you just pulled off the top. You have zero risk now, and you've had over a 15x gain on something that's zero risk. So when you have a 15x gain on something that's zero risk, if you just put $200 in, if you put $200 in originally with Pancake, and let's just say you de-risk when it did a 2x, now you have a $1,500 purely risk-free. So you can choose what to do with that, what you will. So maybe you go, okay, maybe there's 5 other projects that I would be interested in that are low cap or micro cap even. Then you put $100 in each. Ideally, you're not putting. Whenever I say putting $100 in each, I'm not saying go and invest in that project. I'm saying allocate that capital to that project. So set up a plan. Get a journal, get a little piece of paper, and write down, okay, with this project, I'm allocating this amount of currency to it. Okay, and in this case, it could be USDC, USDT, whatever you're going to use. Allocate it to it. So make a plan, have it in a wallet, and then use that Trident approach. So build your core position, average in, have a short-term trading position if you want. And then if you don't want to have the short-term trading position, have some stable coins specifically focused for that project on the side to average in on. So I've done this with a lot of projects and I've been very, very successful. It's basically the best way to gain a nice average position into any project. So again, some of these are just insane. So like DFD, BUSD is 500% on PancakeSwap. So just like ridiculous, right? Like these liquidities are very, very small. Exceed Me and BNB is like 300%. Again, there's other places like Harvest Finance. With Harvest Finance, it's actually a little bit more stable because there's a lot more liquidity. You can do yield farming on kind of these more popular projects. Aave obviously has like staking abilities. Compound, you can do things like this. But when you're looking at very, very high risk, high reward, you can check out PancakeSwap. It is, as what's his name said, he thinks it's going to go to $70 to $100. Could. Who knows? We'll see kind of how it goes. But the point is there's a lot of these kind of crazy speculative ones. I've seen some that have like 1,000% APR, but you have to understand it's 1,000% APR for like a day because these things change dynamically when you have more or less liquidity. So again, the less liquidity, the higher the APR typically. And again, this is all relative. Do your own research, clearly, but don't expect to make 400% APR just risk free. Just like, oh, I'm just going to go about doing this. Because you have to understand, most investors, most people that are just looking, like they're letting their financial advisor invest for them in stocks and bonds and ETFs. They're like, a good year for them is like 7%. It's pretty sad. So in the cryptocurrency market, we see way more than 7% daily, even like hourly. 7% is nothing. But people look for this yearly. So kind of put this into frames. That's why it's important. Again, that's why I don't just talk about crypto, but I talk about all these different investment sectors, because it helps you gain perspective on an incredible innovation like crypto. I think it's really incredible, especially in this bull run. But when the bear market comes, most people won't be too happy about crypto. I can tell you that. So you have to ride this wave while it's still going on. Now, you should always pull profits along the way, but you should understand that there are ways to make passive income to help increase your position. So yield farming, staking is a good way to do it. Motherfucker, these technical difficulties are annoying. I apologize. All right, let me make sure that we are good to go, and then I will just resume with what we're talking about. And then I do have to wrap things up. I have a massage scheduled here for 9 o'clock. So let me go. By the way, the other reason you should be pulling profits in cryptocurrencies is because you can enjoy life. you can actually realize these gains. So many people, again, in the last bull run, were paper millionaires or paper, even some people billionaires, but weren't able to identify that they need to pull profits along the way. There's never a problem in pulling profits along the way, especially if you've seen ridiculous gains like we see in this market. So overall, make sure to realize gains. You'll be able to enjoy life a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, just with some gains off one project, just one project. I mean, I keep all my pretty much core positions, but you're really able to just enjoy life. I personally think, especially if you've gained a nice overall position in these. Okay, moving on. Let me see. So like I said, in about like maybe 15 minutes to a half an hour, I'll have to hop off here. I have a massage scheduled, a Turkish hammam at this hotel, which I'm staying in for the next like week, this hotel. Let me see. Okay, so the main thing I wanted to get to here is not just the best ways. Again, you have staking, you have yield farming. We talked about this. High risk, high reward. Yield farming, staking a little bit more stable. But again, both of them, really anything over that 7%, anything that's over an average return, you have to understand that these are not normal things in financial markets. It's not like you'll be able to make 400% for multiple years from now. No. This is something where it's like maybe you'll be able to make 400% APY again in a week. You'll be able to access this. So again, you have to divide that obviously by that week. Not only will you be able to do this, but over time, these APYs in projects, when you look at liquidity in the pools, will increase. There's kind of a game theory built into it, because if you have these insane returns, well, everybody wants to have insane returns, right? Like, find me one person that doesn't want to have this that is investing. Obviously, there's people that are like money. They're like, kind of, they're going to aside themselves for money, but anyone who's interested in having incredible yields is going to go into something like this. So as liquidity increases, as more people increase capital into this project, the APY goes down. So it's kind of like this balancing scale, and that's the beauty about kind of using this game theory. That's what Satoshi built in with Bitcoin. So very, very important to understand that with the yield farming, it is absolutely vital that you know that these are very, very high risk, high reward. These APRs are not going to be around, for a very long time. Look at something like, even like BlockFi, for example, or Celsius. That is something where you can earn passive income. It's not really staking or or yield farming. Rather, you're essentially lending it to them. So it's kind of like they're your crypto bank. So I personally use BlockFi, but only with a very small percentage of my overall BTC holdings. And you do earn a passive income on it, but or an APR on it, whatever you want to call it. But they actually lowered the rate. So a lot of people have moved towards Celsius. I'm not going to get into that whole debate now. Maybe I could do a dedicated video on that. But I have done I think a tutorial video on Celsius. As far as low cap DeFi projects, there's a lot out there. Like I said, as far as like a staking yield farming, Dim Sum and Panda DAO are interesting, but very, very high risk, very, very high reward, especially if those play out well, because I mean, the APR on those is really insane, in my opinion. We'll cover some of these comments here in a minute. So again, I will be moving to the questions in the live chat. So let me know if you have any questions, because I'll kind of be wrapping up some of these main topics here. Because again, I have to go. I scheduled this at 9 o'clock, so probably here in a little bit I'll have to head out. But overall, when you're looking at lower cap projects, it's really the ones I've been talking about. Those undervalued altcoins for April, I've been continually averaging into. I mean, it's ridiculous for some of these, honestly, like ridiculous. Look at B20 again, the Beeple 20 index. You look at NFTs, who's the top dog? Well, CryptoPunks is the top dog as far as kind of like mass NFTs. But when you're looking at like the Picasso of the crypto space, Beeple is really this guy. And the B20 index is like, instead of betting on one individual art piece, you can have essentially an index, so an averaging in of all these different non-fungible tokens. So again, the B20 index is very, very interesting in my opinion. You also have things like, I would say, let's see, Yield App, still incredibly undervalued. Spartan Protocol, still incredibly undervalued. UDT, Saffron, like these ones I've been talking about time and time again, and it's because I continually average into them. These are ones that I will be holding probably for the next 20 years. Because if you look at what Yield App is doing, for example, it's essentially the Coinbase of DeFi. So think about it when the DeFi project of Coinbase, which Yield App does, because essentially they have a very nice mobile application. This is one thing where a lot of people with crypto, they just want to have the Robinhood of crypto, which is essentially what Coinbase is. They want to like easy user interface, very, very low friction, and easily pop in, pop off whenever you want, into crypto, out of crypto. You get notifications for it. Now, with the DeFi space, you don't have this because it's Web 3.0. So you're not using these kind of like centralized servers of these phone companies like Apple or Android or Samsung, any of these phone companies. Rather, you're doing this on Web 3.0 on the blockchain. So with something like Uniswap, it's impossible to be shut down. Or something, even PancakeSwap is a little bit more centralized, but Injective Protocol, Mirror Protocol, Radium Protocol, the main ones we talked about in those top three alternatives to Uniswap to essentially lower fees, all those are in this category of decentralized exchanges that are literally impossible to shut down. And the beauty of this, one second, the beauty of this is even if someone figures out how to destroy or basically shut down the internet for anyone that's using these cryptocurrencies, well, that's the beauty of something like these projects. I'm drawing a blank on the name here, but there's multiple projects that are doing this. They're essentially creating this decentralized network of routers around the world. Helium is, I'm almost positive. If you know what I'm talking about in the live chat, but Helium essentially is all these internet routers. It's basically using all these in a decentralized manner to have access to the internet, even if it go down. So essentially, that's another way to earn passive income. If you want to do that, if you're interested in that, you can essentially build and put out Helium. I'm hoping I got that name right, but it's Helium Wi-Fi routers, making sure that if you do this, basically you'll be able to earn passive income. So anyways, let me just check out some of these questions in the live chat. Okay, so Labs coin info. Yes, okay, so Labs protocol or Labs token. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired here again. I will have to go here in about like 15, 20 minutes. Man, all right. Let's see. Labs coin. Yes, okay, so basically Labs Group is doing this tokenized real estate. So essentially you would be able to gain access to the real estate market even if you don't have a large amount of capital. So think about being able to access for example, this hotel I'm in. This is a very, very nice hotel in Istanbul. The only people that are able to invest in this are either private investors, friends of the main investor, or someone with a ridiculous amount of capital. Could, some kid who's interested in this area who grew up here his whole life, what if he was able to invest $10, $100 into this real estate here? That's essentially what Labs Group is doing. They're tokenizing real estate. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, especially with emerging markets, because you have this low cost of entry into a lot of these properties, but this high upside. Because again, as the world becomes more borderless, as people kind of go where they're treated best, as people work from anywhere they want in the world, well, why would one residential real estate market or one commercial real estate market in Australia, Canada, United States, UK, France, wherever you want to go, why is that ridiculously overvalued? But somewhere like Albania or somewhere like Serbia, I think is ridiculously undervalued. Nigeria is one that I've been very, very interested in, especially the stock market in Nigeria and Iran. Iran still has some problems, obviously, but Nigeria is very, very interesting as far as that goes. I have a good friend, The Wandering Investor, so go check that out if you're interested in that. He's been researching Nigeria as far as the stock market goes. There's a lot of innovation to come in Africa. A lot of problems. You have to know what you're doing. Just like when I talked about that Russian stock, there's a lot of upside to investing in Russian, especially agricultural commodities. But again, the point here is when you remove these borders, why would one really real estate market be worth so much more when people can live wherever they want? You don't have to live in Los Angeles. You don't have to live in New York. You can go live in Belgrade, Serbia. Like I said, you can go live in. You can come here to Istanbul, Turkey, and live. Why are you feeling so reliant on being in the same place that you were born in? You can move anywhere you want. So that's essentially Labs Coin is what they're doing. They're also having that stable coin, so that will essentially lower the volatility of what's going on there. Reef will have a nice next few months. Yeah, Reef is again one that we've talked about for a long, long time. I can actually pull up the Reef charts here. By the way, in the next couple of months with these live streams, I will have it set up so I can have basically what I have on my computer on the live stream. I just don't have the proper setup currently, but moving forward, we will do that so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But essentially, I'll just talk about what Reef has been doing. We've talked about this a lot on Daily DeFi, a lot about KAVA, a lot about Injective, again, a lot about Chainlink, a lot about Thorchain Rune. I think Thorchain Rune is one that a lot of people don't understand what it's really doing fundamentally. Again, I explained that earlier, but this use case of really being able to actually trade Bitcoin on a decentralized exchange. So you have to understand Bitcoin is its own blockchain. So like it's like two different platforms. Well, it's multiple different platforms, but you have the Bitcoin blockchain, which actually originally Vitalik wanted to build Ethereum on the Bitcoin blockchain. But the Bitcoin blockchain essentially has problems. Like you can technically build applications on the Bitcoin blockchain, but there's a lot of scalability issues. There's just a lot of overall problems. Again, another topic for another day. I could go on for like an hour just about that. But with Ethereum, with Cardano, with something like Solana, you have Terra Luna, any of these different blockchain projects. You want to see increased interoperability. So you want to see bridges between all of these. This is what Polkadot does. That's why I love Polkadot and especially Polkastarter. But being able to trade Bitcoin on a decentralized exchange without having to use wrapped Bitcoin is incredible. And essentially that's what Thorchain Rune does. There's a great interview with the founder of Thorchain Rune with Anthony Pompliano. I was listening to that in the car as I was driving to Göbekli Tepe there in Mount Nemrut. I was there, let's see, just a couple of days ago. But man, the fast-paced travel, I like to stay in a place for a long, like at least a month. And in this fast-paced travel around kind of like southern Turkey, it's tiring. It's tiring. So I'm kind of posted up here. All right. Last time, hopefully we have no more problems. Sorry. Okay. Got it set up. As I was saying, I will be shooting back to the United States, but here in a little bit because there was passing away in the family. So I'm trying to make it back for a funeral, even though there was like literally had to book this flight in the like past in like a day time frame. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Popping back to the United States and then coming back, hopefully visiting Georgia, Armenia, and Ukraine. As I was saying, so I was trying to cover some of these projects with COTI. Very, very undervalued still. COTI is around $250 million market cap. Incredible use case. We've talked about this so many times on this channel. Maybe I'll do another deep dive video if people are still confused. But I mean, just ridiculously undervalued project, just like Reef, in my opinion. COTI's right at 37 cents currently, while Reef is at 3 cents. But again, people get so confused with this. The most important thing is market cap. The important thing is not the actual price, because you can really have price be whatever you want based on the supply versus circulating supply. So if you just have one token that's circulating, the price can be $1 million. But if you have a trillion tokens that are circulating, the price will be 0.0001 cent. That's kind of what like that scam coin thing did that I talked about in another live stream. So anyways, let me just address these the rest of these live chats, and then I have to go get this massage. Let's go. Okay. So let's see. Reef. Yeah, people are liking Reef. Woot trade. Okay, by the Harmony one, that's something I am addressing in the let's see, the top 10 altcoin comment out soon. So Harmony One, yes, I saw that someone when I was setting this back up, he's like, I wonder why that's never covered. Man, like I cover projects that I believe in fundamentally, that I find interesting at the moment. I don't cover projects because that like there's some sponsors, something like this. Rather, I cover projects that I've done a lot of research into typically. Maybe if it's a new project, like in the altcoin comment request, that video has been recorded. But basically, the people that are commenting some of these coins, there is kind of an inherent bias because most of them hold these coins. So it's like sometimes I hesitate to cover some of them. But at the end of the day, I think the most important projects that I find interesting, I talk about on this channel, isn't VeChain working with DeFi. Yes, talked about that. We talked about the Reef partnership. Smoothie Finance, I'll have to check that out. The zero slippage exchange, that's kind of interesting. Cake going to $70 to $100. Maybe we'll see. I mean, Cake has already seen this incredible uprise. Personally, I have averaged out a little bit. I still think we do have more room to grow, but I don't. $100 is a little bit more suspicious. I think Chainlink we could see $100. I think definitely Uniswap we could see $100. But who knows with PancakeSwap? I mean, anything can happen, right? So let's see. Heard of NFTs. We'll have an area on Binance. Yes, okay, so that is a project that I'm actually planning on covering soon. The NFTs on Binance will be huge because of the transaction fees. You have to understand anyone that's wanting to come in, like a new artist who doesn't have any capital, like a what do they call them, like starving artist that doesn't have any capital to pay for the fees. Well, why would they use Uniswap? Because you have to pay a ridiculous amount of fees. Maybe someone will only purchase your digital art for like $10 to $20. Well, in that case, the fees are going to cost you more than what you're going to make in the art. So with Binance, when they're doing NFTs, which by the way, I will be covering that project soon. That really incredible project that is working with Binance. I'm just gonna cover these last couple questions because I do have to run. Sorry about all the technical difficulties during this one. I mean, moving forward, the live streams will be a lot more quality. There's just some technical difficulties with the device I'm recording this on. Okay, let me see. So with Reef being so new. If this happens again, I might just have to end it because I do have to run here in a second. But let me see. Okay, so yeah, would trade with Reef being so new, but having such an ambitious path. What price target could you potentially see? Can they be top 50? Could you ever see them on Coinbase? So I don't think they could necessarily be top 50. I do think they could be on Coinbase, especially because Polkadot is already on there. I would say, as far as Reef goes, personally, I think they could get around. I like to look at more at market cap. I think they could be around a $3 billion project as far as market goes. So you can kind of do the math there as far as what the exact price will be. But yeah, moving on to the next question. All right. And by the way, if you have a question, just leave it really quick below because I'm going to kind of rapid fire go through these. It's decentralized privacy, so it would be harder to get on Coinbase. Yes, that is true. Redu F. ARK is buying Coinbase. Yep. Okay. WoodTrade is offering zero fees. Do you think they could give Binance or Coinbase a run for their money with targeting the big whales? Most likely not as much as Coinbase or Binance because they have a longer track record. Where if I'm correct on WoodTrade, I think WoodTrade, they have an anonymous team, which a lot of people, a lot of these big whales or these kind of companies move away from things with anonymous teams. So it's a problem. So as a U.S. resident, would you recommend someone investing in a VPN? Yes. Okay. So I actually recorded a video on the top 3 VPNs for crypto investors. So that video will be live in the next couple of days. So definitely stay tuned for that. Basically, just to give you an overview, I use multiple VPNs to have like multiple kind of like belt and suspenders approach. Molvad VPN is the best in my opinion for crypto investors. Then NordVPN and then ExpressVPN is kind of like the very